Do you know what I love more than absolutely amazing games? Absolutely amazing games at rock bottom prices. And when we speak about value for money, arguably no genre provides more entertainment per hour than that of the JRPG. So join me today as we look at some great games in my new show, which I hope you will find entertaining, educational and economical. This is the series where I look for good bargains for you so that you don't have to. These are fantastic Japanese RPGs which you can buy for next to nothing right now. Tales of Vesperia. There was a point in time when many people considered this title to be one of the absolutely best exclusives from Japan available for the Xbox 360. For a platform that was largely deprived of Japanese goodness, Tales of Vesperia is a rare example of a title that bucked the trends of the sorts of games you'd have usually expected on the very American platform. Fortunately, the game is much more widely available to play today across a variety of modern hardware. But what was it about this game that makes it so worth your time? Featuring a gripping story, likeable characters, and the beautiful art style the series is well known for, Vesperia, in my opinion, is the perfect starting point for anyone who wants to jump into this classic series. The game follows the story of Yuri Lowell, a former Imperial Knight who becomes a vigilante. He embarks on a journey to retrieve a stolen Blastia core and ends up uncovering a much larger conspiracy that threatens the world. The title features a blend of traditional RPG elements and the series' signature linear motion battle system. In combat, players control one character while the others are managed by AI, allowing for real-time action. The game includes various side quests, mini-games, and the ability to customise characters with different skills and equipment. This work of art features character designs by Kosuke Fujishima, known for his work on other titles in the series. The art style is reminiscent of anime with vibrant colours and expressive characters. The music, composed by Motoi Sakuraba, complements the game's fantasy setting with a memorable and evocative soundtrack. I personally found this game very addicting, partially due to the enjoyment I drew from this entry's innovative battle system, and who doesn't love having an AliExpress Red 13 in their party? I love this game. Don't just take my word for it though. Tales of Vesperia received positive reviews for its engaging story, well-developed characters and refined battle system. It is often cited as one of the best entries in the Tales series. The game has a dedicated fanbase and has seen various re-releases, including the Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, which features enhanced graphics, additional content and dual audio options, Japanese and English. The very version which is widely available to purchase online today. The main story of this game provides about 45 hours worth of playtime, but for those completionists out there who are really looking for a steal, apparently you can squeeze out over 150 hours out of this classic game. Using my affiliate link, you can get this game for currently a measly $2.70. That's 94% cheaper than on Steam. I wasn't exaggerating when I told you I was going to get you an amazing bargain. Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch is simply one of the greatest video games I have ever played, full stop. This game is simply magical. Remember earlier when I mentioned that Vesperia back in the day was one of the best Xbox 360 exclusives? Well, I was so impressed with Ni no Kuni that I specifically purchased a PlayStation 3 just so I could play this game. It looked that incredible and remains looking visually stunning to this very day. This role-playing game, developed by the astonishingly brilliant Level 5 in collaboration with Studio Ghibli, hits all the right notes. The Japanese animation studio, renowned for their plethora of critically acclaimed and gorgeous animated films, helped craft, in my opinion at least, the best looking game on the entire PlayStation 3 platform. It feels like you're playing a Studio Ghibli movie. The game follows a young boy named Oliver who embarks on a journey to another world to save his mother. After an initial tragedy, Oliver discovers he has the ability to travel to a parallel universe, where he befriends a fairy named Mr. Drippy. Together, they set out to defeat the evil sorcerer Shadar and restore peace to both their worlds, before realising there is an even greater peril they must overcome. The overarching narrative combines themes of loss, friendship, and the power of hope. I'll be honest with you, you will never find a game that makes me feel as emotional as this one. Especially now I have my own little boys. I've played through this from start to finish multiple times, and each time without fail I always end up tearing up during the same parts over and over again. Like most of the titles I'm showcasing in this video, this game is huge. Players must explore a richly detailed world map, complete with towns, dungeons, and various landscapes. The game utilises a real-time combat system with turn-based elements, allowing players to control Oliver, his companions, and various familiars, creatures that can be captured and trained for battle. They're akin to Pokemon, with each one having unique abilities, in some cases the capacity to evolve, and the functionality to offer differing roles in combat. On top of this, like with most other games of this kind, players use spells, potions, and equipment to aid their journey and combat. To make this one even more expansive, there are also numerous side quests, bounty hunts, and minigames that add depth and tons of potential replayability. It's received numerous awards and nominations and is considered one of the standout RPGs of its generation. Bearing this in mind, you will probably adore the fact that my affiliate link will provide you with 89% off this excellent piece of entertainment, bringing the cost down to a meager $5.99. Absolute pennies for a 50-hour plus masterpiece. Final Fantasy IX, one of the video games from a period which many people consider to be the golden age of the Final Fantasy brand, and one of the most beautiful and impressive looking titles that can be found amongst the humble original PlayStation's library. This one is an epic. Developed and published by Squaresoft in the year 2000, it's the 9th installment in the Final Fantasy series and marked a return to the franchise's roots with a medieval fantasy setting, and was the last game in the franchise released on the OG PlayStation. The story follows Zidane Tribal, a member of a group of bandits known as Tantalus. Zidane and his group kidnapped Princess Garnet of Alexandria, only to find out that the reality was she wanted to escape from her controlling and tyrannical mother, Queen Bran. Alongside Garnet, who later adopts the alias Dagger, Zidane and his companions embark on an adventure filled with intrigue, exploration, and battles to save their world from a mysterious and ancient threat. This all-time great features the beloved traditional turn-based combat system with active time battle mechanics that we all know and love. Each of the characters has unique abilities and skills based on their class, such as Thief, Knight, Black Mage, Summoner, and so on. As well as conventional leveling up, your characters learn new abilities through using weapons and armour during battle, giving the roster a certain amount of customization. The game also introduces the Trance system, where characters can enter a more powerful state after taking a certain amount of damage, building on the limit break mechanic established in previous games. There is no one specific element that has led to this game remaining so enduring over the years, but it probably helps that the game strikes a good balance between what was lovable about the original PlayStation Final Fantasy games and the ones from the 8 and 16-bit eras. It's almost as if the team who worked on these games took everything that was great about the franchise up until that point and poured it all into one single game. As expected, Final Fantasy IX received critical acclaim for its story, characters, music, and return to the series' roots. It's often praised for its nostalgic elements, charming visuals, and deep, engaging gameplay. If you haven't already played this game to death and fancy acquiring it now, or you're someone who simply wants to relive your childhood all over again, then you can do so with a lovely 67% discount. Please click on the link down below, as you can currently get this beauty for just $7.49. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Hey! When touched for the very first time. Doesn't really feel like your average Yakuza game because, to be frank, it isn't. The Yakuza series, which is somewhat akin to being a spiritual successor to Shenmue, is a series of incredibly detailed action-adventure role-playing games based around Japanese city life, which engrosses the player into the lifestyle of modern-day Japanese culture, with deep minigames and decorated environments based around real Japanese locations. In a departure from the norm, Like a Dragon adds a full turn-based battle system. Taking into account how differently the style and atmosphere is in Like a Dragon when compared with the majority of turn-based RPGs, Like a Dragon stands out as a unique and, at points, comical breath of fresh air, making it differ drastically from the more formulaic experiences delivered in the majority of games in the genre. In this game, you become Ichiban Kasuga, a low-ranking Yakuza grunt left on the brink of death by the man he trusted most. You take up your legendary bat and get ready to crack some underworld skulls in this dynamic RPG. Like a Dragon received positive reviews from both critics and players. Critics praised its engaging story, memorable characters, and successful implementation of turn-based combat. The shift in gameplay mechanics was seen as a bold and refreshing change, breathing new life into the long-running series. Overall, Yakuza Like a Dragon stands out as a unique entry in the Yakuza series, offering a blend of dramatic storytelling, strategic combat, and a wealth of side activities, all wrapped up in the distinctive style that fans of the series have come to love. You can get 94% off of this game at the moment, bringing it down in price to just $3.75, a still big enough even for the Yakuza. Cassette Beasts is a surprisingly good turn-based role-playing game which you tend to rarely hear mentioned. Although heavily inspired by Japanese gameplay and aesthetics, in all technicalities being British produced, I guess this one is a British RPG, so it's a BRPG. I've never used that term on this channel before. As you can likely tell from simply using your eyes and looking at this game, it's likely obvious to you that a huge amount of influence was taken from Pokemon when producing this title, or more specifically, the look and style of Pokemon Black and White, some of the most cherished games created for the franchise. However, similarities with Pokemon don't end with the graphics. Cassette Beasts is an indie game developed by Bitten Studio, known for its unique blend of monster collecting mechanics and nostalgic aesthetics. In this game, players collect and record creatures called beasts on cassette tapes. These beasts can be transformed into by the players using the cassette tapes, allowing for unique battle strategies and combinations. In this game, you don't command Pokemon, but you become the Pokemon. One of the standout features is the fusion system, where players can combine two beasts to create a new, more powerful beast. This system encourages experimentation and offers a vast array of possible combinations, enhancing replayability. The game draws heavily on the nostalgia of the cassette tape era, featuring a retro aesthetic that appeals to fans of classic games. The soundtrack is designed to complement this vibe, enhancing the overall nostalgic experience. You can explore a vibrant open world filled with various environments, NPCs, quests, and secrets. The world is designed to be immersive, with many locations to discover and explore. Unlike Pokemon, Cassette Beasts is a game with an adult audience in mind, so the game contains more mature themes such as intimate relationships and living with anxiety. The title is very dark in places and includes some rather disturbing bosses. The game's main story takes a considerable amount of time to beat, and if you are a sordid completionist, the challenge is even greater, as to 100% the game you have to fill up this title's equivalent of a Pokédex. I personally think this game is excellent, but don't just take my words for it. Review scores across the board echo similar positive sentiments. The reason you might not have heard of this yet is that compared to other titles on this video, this is still a relatively new game, only seeing release in 2023. For this reason, it's not as cheap yet as other titles I've spotlighted on this list. However, I have managed to find you a 45% discount on this game that even includes all the game's DLC. The game can be yours forever for just $21.54. Final Fantasy VII. Let's be honest, I don't really need to explain how significant this game is. Easily the most famous JRPG of all time, this is the video game that popularised the genre in the West, propelling it to new heights and assisting the Sony PlayStation in taking first place in the console wars in Japan for the first time. Let's just say there's a reason why Square Enix are currently pumping outrageous amounts of money into rebooting this game's story and delivering this legendary tale in the form of a decade-spanning trilogy that is costing hundreds of millions of dollars to produce. The love for this iconic universe of characters all began in 1997 with this Sony PlayStation classic. Spanning 3 separate discs, which was unprecedented at the time, Final Fantasy VII delivered a must-play experience that we've now been talking about for generations. The game is set in a dystopian world where the Shinra Electric Power Company monopolises the world's energy through the use of Mako, a mystical substance drawn from the planet's life force. The main storyline follows Cloud Strife, a former Shinra soldier who joins an eco-terrorist group called Avalanche to fight against Shinra's exploitation of the planet. As the story progresses, Cloud and his allies uncover deeper conspiracies involving an ancient race called the Cetra and the game's primary antagonist, Sephiroth, one of the most threatening adversaries ever created in gaming, who seeks to gain godlike power by merging with the planet. As great as the recent reimaginings of this grand adventure have been, the turn-based original still manages to stand its ground, delivering a solid and, more importantly, complete experience in its own right. By the way, for the record, just to illustrate that it's not just nostalgia talking when I praise this game, I personally didn't play through Final Fantasy VII until the early 2010s, and it's still one of my favourite JRPGs of all time, despite not playing it in the era it was created. For this reason, I'm confident that there's fun to be found from this game for both old school fans and newcomers alike. You can get it with a 66% discount, bringing the cost down to only $4.80. Not bad at all for one of the most important video games that has ever been created. Oh yeah, and for some bonus information for you, while I wouldn't say the price is next to nothing, you can get Final Fantasy VII Remake including the Yuffie DLC for 56% cheaper than on Steam. This is in the pinned comment with everything else I've talked about today. Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling. I felt that this game was a poignant and particularly interesting title to mention today due to its links to Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, a remake of a 2004 game that ludicrously Nintendo are charging $60 to download. That's a hell of a lot of money compared to everything else we have covered today. Bug Fables, as you can probably tell, was tremendously inspired by the first 2 Paper Mario games. Despite the fact that Nintendo fans have been clamouring for a new game like The Thousand Year Door for years, Nintendo stubbornly continued to push the Paper Mario series in new and somewhat at points questionable directions. Keeping the demand of a true follow-up to The Thousand Year Door in mind, Bug Fables was easily funded on Indiegogo, resulting in a game that, well, looks like this. Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling is an adventure RPG following 3 heroes, V, Kabu and Leaf, as they embark on an epic quest in Bulgaria in search of the Everlasting Sapling. Bug Fables combines colourful platforming with the heroes' unique abilities as they explore a wide variety of areas in the kingdom. Just as promised on the tin, turn-based battles make use of action commands that can power up your attacks. The game includes 7 chapters of story following the cast across Bulgaria, with vast overworlds that transition into turn-based combat. You can explore unique areas spread across multiple kingdoms and utilise a cooking system to turn ingredients into items that can help you in battle. Just like in The Thousand Year Door, the game that inspired this, you can even engage in a tattle system that lets you hear your party interact with each other. This is essentially The Thousand Year Door spiritual sequel that you have never played, and you can play it right now with 77% off for only $4.90, 12 times cheaper than playing Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Speaking on Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, the game that inspired me to start this series, you can buy every main game that I've covered today, the entire shopping list, for less than one digital download of The Thousand Year Door. That's right, the grand total cost for all of them comes to $51.17, and that even includes Cassette Beasts, which was just over $20 in its own right. There are still some very cost-effective ways to enjoy gaming as opposed to the overly expensive way of making purchases that corporations are desperately scrambling to try and sell to us. There's a whole cornucopia of existing games out there for us to all thoroughly enjoy, which can be obtained very easily and cheaply with just a little shopping around. You can get everything I've talked about today and more in the pinned comment down below, and each purchase supports this channel too. Thank you for sticking around and see you in the next one.